Hello, everyone. Cool. Hi. Can you hear me all good? Amazing. So we're going to get started now. So just to introduce myself, my name's Claudia. I've been a volunteer with Animal Rebellion for about a year and a half, and I usually work in mobilization and recruitment.
Hey everyone, ooh, loud. My name is James, so I've been involved in the actions team in Animal Rebellion for about 2 years now.
So thank you so much for coming to our talk today. So just to kind of talk to you about what we're going to go through, first we're going to talk about who Animal Rebellion is, what we do, then why we use non-violent action, our current situation in terms of the planet, why we need system change to address this, why we need to be part of the environmental movement, and then we're going to talk about how you guys can get involved and help us make a difference. So who is Animal Rebellion? So as you can see here, Animal Rebellion is a mass movement that uses non-violent civil disobedience to bring about a transition to a just and sustainable plant-based food system. As an attempt to halt mass extinction, alleviate the worst effects of climate breakdown, and ensure justice for all animals. So to break that down, Animal Rebellion is an environmental and animal justice group. Our aim is to bring about climate and animal justice by addressing the mass destructive impact that animal agriculture and fishing have on our planet. We use non-violent civil disobedience because of how critical our situation is. We know that we do not have the luxury of having time on our side. This is an emergency, and we need to act like it and do all that we can to address these issues and turn this toxic system which exploits animals and the planet around. So what makes us different from other movements? To talk about this, I want to tell you a bit about how Animal Rebellion came to be. So Animal Rebellion started when a group of people who at the time were in Extinction Rebellion, and if you don't know who Extinction Rebellion are, they are an environmental group that also use non-violent civil disobedience. And these people started to wonder why, when we talk about the climate and ecological emergency, people are so reluctant to address animal agriculture and fishing as a cause. You know, they are one of the leading causes of deforestation, of ocean dead zones, the list goes on and on. Yet not only Extinction Rebellion, but environmental groups in general are often so reluctant to address these industries. It is seen as too extreme, too divisive, too polarizing. But the science is clear. We know that we cannot address the climate emergency without addressing the animal emergency. So Animal Rebellion have made it our mission to address this, to expose these industries, and demand that the government take drastic action on the climate emergency by transitioning to a just and sustainable plant-based food system. So I hope that summarizes a bit what Animal Rebellion, who we are, and what our mission is. I just want to take a quick minute to tell you about myself and how I got here. So as I said, my name's Claudia, I'm 23 years old, and like many people, I grew up absolutely loving animals. And for a long time, that was my motivating factor in this. I went vegetarian when I was 13 and made that connection of where meat comes from, and then a few years later, when I understood how exploitative and how much suffering the dairy and egg industry caused, I went vegan. And for a while, I was really content with that. I felt like I was doing my part. But then I understood that these industries were still going on, and not only that, but I began to educate myself on the damaging, destructive impact that they have on our planet. And I realized that what I was doing was not enough. So I began to see what I could do. I looked at different environmental organizations, but I kept being so frustrated by that fact that none of them were willing to address animal agriculture and fishing, until I found what was, to me, this amazing group, Animal Rebellion, that were willing to address these issues, that were willing to fight for climate justice and animal justice, and understood that they are in fact not separate issues, but are deeply connected, and that we cannot address the climate emergency without addressing the animal emergency. And for me, that's when things clicked into place.
I hope my story is half as rousing as that one. So the way I got involved, it's so loud. So I started off probably like most people going vegan, like, oh cool, this is nice, this is fun. But what else can I do? Can I do a bit more? And then I got involved, this is like 4 or 5 years ago, with a group called Anonymous for the Voiceless. You guys have probably heard of it at some point. Doing a bit of vegan outreach, and that was great. I did it for like a couple of years, did save vigils. I thought, great, I'm getting out there every week, doing something for animals, feel really great about this. And then about 2 years in, I went to my first Extinction Rebellion protest, which was when we blocked the 5 bridges in November 2018. And I was like, wow, you can protest and have fun at the same time. Who knew? Because after doing quite intense, quite serious animal rights activism, you kind of forget the joy in the world. But I thought this was, wow, you can like make a stand for animals, do something you really care about, but also have a great time and meet amazing people. I thought, wow, this is a great, this feels good. But then I thought, why don't we have this for animals? And then fast forward, XR's been doing really great work for like about April 2019. They go to the streets in London and they block central London for 2 weeks. And they get international news coverage, they become a global sensation, there's tens of thousands of people on the streets of London, and then shortly afterwards, the UK government declares a climate emergency. I mean, for a bunch of ragtag anarchists, getting the government to respond to your demands isn't half bad. So I thought, okay, cool. If they can do this, why don't we do this? Because clearly there's something in that has worked so well, I thought we should give it a shot. And then luckily, someone founded Animal Rebellion, and then here we are. But I guess the point of the story is it's a really great marriage of animal rights, but also climate and doing things in a way that isn't just important work, but work you can enjoy and you can keep doing continuously, which is why I find it really, really, yeah, exciting. Cool. And on from that thread, I guess the biggest difference about Animal Rebellion is that we take non-violent direct action. So an example of that is, if anyone's seen the bamboo structure next to our tenty area, so we make things like that. We put them in front of McDonald's centers to stop them sending out food. We take direct action to actually stop the industries that are killing animals and destroying our planet. And the main reason we do it is because it works, right? We want to do what works. We don't care about feeling good. We don't care, well, I do a bit, but we don't care about what feels right. We want to actually do what makes a difference for animals. And for us, we think that's taking civil disobedience. And so this is a nice YouGov poll. So this is concern for the climate. And you can see, since XR was born and the big protests in April, if you just look at how much more people care about the climate because of the attention they put on this issue, I mean, to me, that's amazing. If we can have anywhere near that same impact, that is unbelievable. So for us, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to take action, get into the news, get into the media, and get people talking about the issues. And obviously, there's examples in history of when this has worked. The civil rights movement, Otpor, and then there's some great research we'll touch on saying that any nonviolent movement that gets 3.5% of the population to participate has never failed to succeed in its aims. But 3.5% is a lot of people, but people have won with much less than that as well. And in terms of what we've achieved so far, oh no, this one. Oh no, come back. Oh my God. Great, this one. So this is just like a recap of one of our years. So we got into 180 press appearances across various media outlets. And this is like, I think, pretty good for a relatively ragtag group of 10 people working on a really, really small budget compared to most animal charities. We literally done interviews with Sky News, BBC, been on CNN, been in The Guardian, Metro, whatever, you name it, we've probably been in there a couple of times. And this goes to show, if you want to get the message out there and get people talking about the issues, non-violent direct action works. And it's a really easy, effective, and I guess kind of cheap way of getting a message out to the world. Yeah, this is an action from Smithfield. I'll just keep going. And in terms of examples, this is our first blockade of McDonald's. This is May 21st. So we've blocked 4 sites in the UK, all McDonald's sites at the same time, to the point where they actually ran out of food in stores the next day and had to shut down. Yeah. And just for clarity, this was about 100 of us, right? So 100 of us did this across 4 sites, 25 people each. But imagine if there was 1,000 of us. We could easily hold it, I think, for a week. Imagine if McDonald's was shut for a week. Wouldn't that be great? So, and then this is you.
Is it? Oh, there we go. So slightly less cheery now, but I'm going to talk about this sort of situation that we find ourselves in this crazy world we live in right now. So I'm sure many of you will have seen or heard about the most recent IPCC report that came out earlier this month. To summarize, it's really not good. But the thing is, a lot of the information that has come out is not new information. It's things that we have known for decades. However, what this report does confirm is that unequivocally, without doubt, human activity is responsible for the extreme climate change we are facing. It also states that things are changing at a much faster pace than anyone anticipated, and that unless we take action, the worst is still yet to come. Now, scientists believe that in order to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change, we need to limit global warming to between 1.5 to 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Once we go past these points, we risk going over tipping points, which will lead to irreversible, runaway climate breakdown. If we continue going the way we are going, it is predicted that we will hit that 1.5 degree mark by 2025. We will then be predicted to hit the 2 degree mark by 2035. And by the end of the century, we are looking at a world that is between 4 to 6 degrees hotter. And this may not sound like a lot, 4 to 6 degrees, but a 4 to 6 degree world is essentially uninhabitable to humans. It is a world of extinction. And I could continue throwing facts and statistics at you, but I think the reality is that what we are facing is too drastic and overwhelming to really be understood by numbers. And I also think it's really important to acknowledge that in some ways we're very detached from the situation because we have this incredible privilege of living in this part of the world where we're yet to feel those impacts. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what is going on in my home country, in Chile. So Chile, due to its geographical location, is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. So much so that since 2010, we have been facing a mega drought, so called because of how extreme and how long it has been going on for. Over here, we see a photo of Fernando Rojas. He grew up his whole life next to this incredible lake, which used to be 4 times the size of Central Park in New York. As you can see, now almost completely dried up. What this means is that people in that community have had struggles accessing water, have been unable to grow food. And not only this, but it means that the land is vulnerable, which means that we have had raging wildfires that have burnt over 23,000 square miles of forest. And there's no signs of it getting better anytime soon. And Chile is not alone. 2021 has shown us countries and communities all around the world being impacted by climate change. We have seen mass floodings around Europe and China and raging wildfires and heat waves in North America. Nowhere is safe, not even here in the UK. And even with that knowledge and knowing what is happening, our governments are still refusing to take action on the climate crisis. Instead, they choose to continue funding these destructive industries such as animal agriculture. The truth is that climate change will be felt all around the world. And as I said, this is only the beginning, unless we choose to act now. So let's all come together. And now James is going to talk about why we need some system change.
Oh, you get all the claps. I'm jealous. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Cool. So the next bit is going to be a bit about, why we need system change. And when I say system change, I mean change to our economic, political systems, change the way corporations do things, I guess like larger scale things if it's not really obvious. Basically more than just me and you changing our lifestyles. And the first great graph, I'm sure we'll be happy to know, plant-based products. We're buying more of them. Yeah, great, we're selling more. Good vibes, right? This is really positive news. And this is only 2016, 2017, and it's about quadrupled in that time period, or tripled. And I'm sure since then, it's easily gone more than 5 or 10 times up. So that looks promising, right? We're selling more plant-based products. Cool. And at the same time, more and more people doing Veganuary every year. So in my head, this is approximation for the number of people interested in veganism. Booming. Literally gone about 100, 200 times bigger since 2014 to 2019. That seems really promising, right? We should be happy about that. But the next slide is not so good. This is the global meat production over time. And as you can see, it's not slowing down at all. If anything, it's probably increasing in speed. And this essentially is the number of animals we kill every year, which is a pretty sad but dark reality in that we think things are going well, but in reality, things are just carry on getting worse. And for me, this is a really big reason why this should be the graph that we should care about. It's irrelevant to me how many people want to be vegan for a year or how many plant-based products we sell. What matters to me is how many animals are dying every year. And as you can see, this number isn't slowing down, and this is what we should be focusing on. And in essence, this is why system change is important, because if a few of us decide to go vegan, great. But if these corporations and these governments don't make it a long-lasting and meaningful systemic change, this graph is going to keep going up and keep going up. And so as Animal Rebellion, we think that there's loads of groups in the animal rights movement who are focusing on the individual stuff, but very few focusing on the systemic stuff. And here's a little graph to show you that we've actually done some reading, and I'm not just making all this shit up. This is totally science, because it's in a pie chart. So this graph is like one theory for how social change works. It's by a group called the Aney Institute, if you want to fact check me. But in essence, there's 3 slices of the pie. One is personal transformation, and that means people changing their lives for a cause. Pretty simple. One is alternatives, so creating alternative systems that people can kind of manifest the new way of living they want to see in the world. And finally, it's changing dominant institutions. So relatively simple. It's going to get a bit more complicated. Boom. You can actually split that pie into 3, and I'll explain those slices in a second. But in essence, I'm going to give you a really shallow analysis of the animal rights movement. So for personal transformation, if you look at the animal rights movement, there's quite a lot happening. There's vegan outreach, Anonymous of the Voiceless, there's Save Vigils, Veganuary, Challenge 21. Loads of people are trying to change people one-to-one. It's great, we need more of it, but it's happening quite a lot, which is cool. So like in my head, that slice of the pie is covered. Alternatives, we got vegan festivals now, great. We got loads of good vegan food alternatives, we got sanctuaries, and in those places we're like modeling our future for the world, which is obviously a healthy, happy world where animals live free. Cool, that's happening. Let's see what's going to come next. Ooh, hello. Okay, cool. And then, oh my god, the slide is going crazy. So, and then for the next bit, inside game. So this is people who are challenging our political system from the inside. So Animal Welfare Party, good example of that. And structural organizing is those challenging the institutions from the outside. So your NGOs, Vivas here, Humane League, so on and so forth. And finally, it's people doing mass mobilization. And in essence, before we started, there was no one really occupying this territory. And really, there still could be a much, much stronger animal rights movement than there is now. If you look at people like, I guess XR is one, but Black Lives Matter, they're getting tens to hundreds of thousands of people on the streets when action's happening. And I just hope one day we can have that kind of strength. But that is the kind of movement we need to see, because in my head, these slices of the pie, they're covered pretty well, right? We've got loads of good vegan outreach, loads of good alternatives, and then there's groups working on the other 2 slices of the pie. But we see this, the mass mobilization, as a really key neglected area. This is where that once we have this slice of the pie, we can make everyone stronger. And this is the key bit, is that we're not saying anyone is better than anyone else. We're just saying we need all of these things to make change happen. And this is what we think is lacking currently. Yeah. And here's another token few slides of our actions, because I think they're cool. Again, this is also from the first McDonald's blockade. As you can see, our lovely bamboo tripods. And so a good bit here is talking about, so we talk about a plant-based food system, because we don't just want individual people, individual products to go plant-based, we want the whole system to be plant-based, which is why we keep hammering this message of plant-based food system, plant-based food system, plant-based food system, because we want environmental groups to say, all right, fair enough, a really climate-friendly way of farming is a plant-based food system. And now there's other groups who are also adopting that same narrative. So if you want to talk about food systems systemically, plant-based food system is the way to go. Oh, another nice action. This is when we stopped Arla, a milk distributor. It was also fun.
Thanks, James. So now I'm... Yes!
I was joking.
Woo! We love you, James. So now we're going to talk about why we need to be part of the environmental movement. I think it's fair to say that most of us at Animal Rebellion are driven by both environmental and animal justice concerns. The knowledge that we as a society still choose to exploit and kill trillions of individuals unnecessarily for food every year is horrifying, and that in itself should be enough for us to want to fight for a better future. So why then do we need to be part of the environmental movement? Well, apart from the fact that climate change affects literally every living being on this planet, and that we need all of us to come together to tackle it, we also really need the numbers. Unfortunately, only about 0.01% of people identify as animal rights activists. These are not numbers that we can build a mass movement on. So what we need to do is to appeal to other values, broader values that more people care about, such as in this case, environmentalism and care for the planet. We know that the climate crisis needs to be addressed urgently. And we believe that if we can get across just how damaging animal agriculture and fishing are to our planet, then we can build up a movement. If we get those numbers, then that gives us the best shot that we have at transitioning to a just and sustainable plant-based food system. And by doing that, trillions of individuals will then be spared from death and suffering at the hands of animal agriculture and fishing. So the result is ultimately the same, but the way that we go about it has to be strategic. And I think, James, you had something else to add.
Yeah, and it was on the previous point, is that what we ultimately care about is getting animals out of our food system and out of farms and stopping their suffering and stopping them dying. And for us, we think a key strategic way to actually make that happen is with the environmental movement. Because if you look at the successes they've had recently, where, like I said, XR has gone to a global icon, there's tens of countries declaring climate emergency, all these net zero things go all great. They've got such a good standing and there's so much public concern for the climate, it would be honestly criminal to not capitalize on that. That sounds a bit, capitalize is a bit whatever, but to use that to our advantage. And really sadly, most people in the UK or globally don't think about animals from a moral perspective. And honestly, I think if we went down the moral argument for animals, it could take 30, 40, 50 years, because I don't think humanity's morals moves that fast. But in terms of the climate change, countries have committed to net zero by 2050. That almost definitely means no animals in the food system by 2050 if we convince them, or if we literally explain to them that's impossible when you're farming shitloads of animals. So for us, we think this could happen in the next 10 years. Well, there's like COP26 coming up later this year. This is one of the biggest climate summits ever. And we think if we can embed that idea that animal farming and climate friendly does not go together, we think that is such a huge opportunity. And we've seen it with XR. People in XR are now coming over to our side. They're now sharing loads of our content. Like, in terms of like the global reach we've got, when XR Global shares our stuff to 500,000 people saying meat and dairy equals climate crisis, we're imprinting that into everyone's brains and imprinting that into the brains of politicians to say, yes, we also need to transition to a plant-based food system. So in essence, for us, this is a key strategic way to actually get animals out of the food system as fast as possible, because that is what really matters.
So what now? I realize that we've thrown a lot of information at you, some of it quite distressing maybe, and not always the easiest thing to digest. But I think what's really important to remember is that what happens now is up to us. History is filled with all these amazing social movements that succeeded despite all odds and managed to change the world. So let's not give up. Let's come together and take action. Starting on the 23rd of August, as in this coming Monday, Animal Rebellion will be taking to the streets of London. We're going to protest. Yeah. We're going to protest and take direct action to tell the government enough is enough. We need active, drastic action on the climate crisis, and this means transitioning to a just and sustainable plant-based food system. So we have a coach going from Vegan Camp Out. We want as many of you in there as possible joining us to say enough is enough. We know that another better world is possible, but only if we act now and make it so.
Yeah, so just maybe I'll give a quick thing of what things are maybe coming up. Could be interesting. So yeah, like Claudia said, we've got 2 weeks of action happening in London starting Monday, so very, very soon. So come down if you can. And there's obviously the Animal Rights March on Saturday. So this is the first Animal Rights March that'll be done for the past 2 years. So I think this is our time to go out and show, I guess, the world, the UK, that animal rights is very much on the forefront of the conversation and should be what we're talking about on a day-to-day basis. And we're hoping to mobilize at least 5,000 people to come take part in that. So please come down to that if you are around, because, well, what else are you going to be doing with your Saturday? That's not better than March. What else? And yeah, in essence, there's like loads more things we're doing over the, like COP26 is coming up in November in Glasgow, but we're always organizing actions, we're always doing stuff, we always want to grow the movement. Because fundamentally, I don't want to look back in 30, 40 years and be saying to myself, saying to my kids, what was I doing? Oh, I was on Netflix just watching shit TV. I was watching Love Island. No offense, Love Island. I'd rather be like, no, I was out there on the streets doing my bit for the planet, doing my bit for animals, because what else, like, how else can I sleep at night knowing that I'm not doing the bare minimum is to help other people and help other beings. And really, I like this quote, if not us, then who? Because the world isn't going to change itself. Animals aren't just going to free every single cage in the world, and people aren't just going to go vegan overnight. We're going to have to do something about it. We're going to have to go to the streets, raise the alarm, and get people talking. And fundamentally, if we're not doing it, who the hell else is going to do it? Right? We're at Vegan Camp Out. This should be the most vegan people in the world, I reckon. So if we're not doing it, we're totally fucked. So please, join us in London for the next 2 weeks. Join us at Animal Rights March. Join us generally. Get involved.
So now we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to just ask any questions. If there's anything people want to talk about, I think James is going to run around with the microphone. So if anyone has anything they'd want to say, if you could raise your hand.
Thank you. So just like technically, how does it work? I know like Rebellion is multiple small groups working together, wherever they are. How does Animal Rebellion work? Do you like get together like mini groups according to where you live? How does it work?
Oh, okay, I'm starting. So that's a great question. And yes, we do have meetings. I once had a journalist ask me, you organized this protest in 4 cities across the country. He's like, how long did it take? Days? Did you have meetings? I'm like, it took months. We had shitloads of meetings. Yes. So yeah, we do have teams, and like, I'm in the actions team, Claudia's in recruitment, so we have various different things you can get involved in. There's like social media, arts, recruitment, press, pretty much tech, if there's a function you can think of that happens in a company, we probably have something similar, but more fun and more chill. So there's that element, and then there's also the local groups or hubs. So we have hubs in like London, Bristol, Manchester, various other places across the UK, but also across the world. We've got some great groups in like Czech Republic, Germany, Netherlands. So it kind of depends on how you want to get involved. But sometimes you might find a group in Barcelona. We've got Nunu from Barcelona right here. So yeah, basically, yeah, it's kind of formed the teams, maybe 6 to 8 people. You work on your little section, and then together you form the collective group, and then you also have the local thing. So there's many ways to get involved, no matter like what your capacity. And obviously, we want to build this as much as possible. So yeah, any free time you have to give is like very, very appreciated.
I think you covered it pretty well. Does anyone?
What is the response from Animal Rebellion with regards to the new legislations with rioting? Yeah, protesting and rioting.
About the police crimes and sentencing bill, you know?
I mean, I don't know from like, can speak in behalf of everyone in Animal Rebellion, but obviously, like to me, it's horrendous. It's the complete like violation of freedom of speech, and I think we need to stand up against it while we still can. Coming from a country where like protesting is so much more dangerous than it is here, for me it's like such a slippery slope where like you kind of give in that and then like so much more gets taken away. So I think that regardless of what you're standing up for, we need to come together and fight this bill. Yeah. James agrees. Any other questions?
Hi, I wanted to know how your campaign to get schools and councils to go plant-based is going, please.
This one is for you.
Great question. So this campaign, we started in October last year. And the campaign was to get more plant-based meals in schools and councils across the UK, because Leeds did it, which is amazing. So they got one vegetarian or plant-based day per week in 180 primary schools, thanks to the work of ProVeg. So big up ProVeg. Yeah, big up. And we thought, great, if Leeds can do it, why don't we give that a crack in other councils? Because we got a relatively big network of volunteers across the country. And so started in October, and now we have that campaign running in about 40 councils across the UK, which is about 10% of all councils in the UK, which I think is pretty impressive. And so far, 2 councils have committed to 1 vegetarian day per week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually 30,000 kids in Hackney alone. That's in 100 schools. I mean, we worked it out. That's 1 million meals per year. That's changed compared to what wouldn't have been. So in terms of like systemic change, changing 1 million meals for literally, we had 2 meetings with the councillors to do that. I think that's pretty good going. And Brighton, thanks to the great work of Alison in Brighton have also committed to 1 day a week, and there's other councils where that's in progress. So Somerset and Harrogate are both in progress as well. And so yeah, there's about like 2 councils who have fully committed. It's about 3 or 4 councils who are like talking with ProVeg, trying to confirm it. And there's about maybe 20 other councils working on it. But it depends how easy it is depending on your council. But if you do want to give that a crack, you can go on we have a website called Feed Our Future, or you can come to the stall and get a leaflet. Because in terms of talking to councillors, which is it's not too bad, but like changing loads of school meals easily, that's the way to go. I mean, it's just so easy, potentially. So yeah, it's going well. Everyone should give it a go. It could literally change 1 million school meals with like 3 meetings. Pretty good going.
It's a stupid question, but in an ideal world, if animal agriculture was wiped out tomorrow, what would happen to all the animals and the disenfranchised farmers and angry meat eaters?
I can start on this one if you want. In terms of the animals, the reason we have as many animals as we do is because we breed them, you know, like often, like through artificial insemination. We wouldn't continue to have this number of animals, and I guess we'd have like sanctuaries that would take these animals in. In terms of farmers, the reason we talk about a just and sustainable transition is because it's not about leaving people behind. It's about helping people move forward to create this better world, which would include like the government supporting farmers to transition from animal agriculture to growing like vegetables. And in terms of angry meat eaters, they'll eat delicious vegan food and they will come around eventually.
Okay, we'll do a question from the front, then we'll go back to the middle or back.
Hi. I wanted to say that I think it's so incredible that you guys are mostly all in your early 20s in Animal Rebellion, and it's so incredible to see you up there and speaking so eloquently and articulately and answering all the questions. And I wanted to ask you that, do you find that you're getting any of the older, more middle-aged corporate generation wanting to get involved in Animal Rebellion? And if so, as oldies, how do we get involved if we can't climb up scaffolding and you know, get involved in more radical things? Like, what kind of help do you need from us oldies?
Should I take it for a bit? Cool, I'll try and answer this. Well, yeah, we're definitely not all mid-20s. It's because of the vegan diet. We all look so young and youthful. I'm actually 65. No, but for real, we're like relatively diverse age-wise. But yeah, we do lean a bit young. But in terms of how you can get involved, well, there's literally, yeah, like I said, if anything, I would love more older people who actually have some work experience. Because some of us were like, how do we do press? How do we write a document? What the hell's a spreadsheet? So it'd be really nice to have some people who have some level of business background to actually do some proper management of stuff for us. So please, if you have any experience in the world of business, come talk to me. Sort us out. It's a fucking nightmare. But that's like the volunteering front. But in terms of doing actions, well, you don't have to climb a bamboo tower. You can also get locked on the ground. You can lie down for like 24 hours. It's pretty comfortable. We'll get you a pillow. So if you wanna get spicy, as we call it, or get arrested, we can get more ground level stuff for you as well. That can be arranged.
Brilliant. Thank you, sir. I am one of those middle-aged, relatively new to the movement type of people. Even though I may look at 25, I'm way beyond that right now. So I want to bring my professional skills, and so we will have a chat later on. Oh, thank you. But when I go home on Sunday to my relative normality, give me one thing that I can do that is actually going to make a difference. I want to make a difference when I get home on Sunday. Tell me what I can do. What is the main thing? What is the biggest thing that I could do straight away to help you?
Oh, okay, Claudia doesn't want it. Well, I think just come to some actions, right? Get involved. I don't think that's the easiest thing. Come down, if you can, come down to London on Monday, get involved with the rebellion, come to actions. And if you can't come down on Monday, well then try book some time off for the next week. But also, yeah, I think get volunteering. I think volunteering, like you said, helping out in a professional capacity, that is so, so useful. And actually, we're going to have a little sign-up sheet afterwards on the table. So if you want to come, give us your email. And if you want to get more involved in terms of volunteering, knowing where the next actions are, taking time off for the next protest, please come find us. Because I guess for us, I guess volunteering is really helpful because we need people to help build the movement. It's relatively easy to show up to a protest, but to organize 10 to 100 people to come to that protest and make it better for everyone else, that is the real important work. Because organizing people is really, really challenging, annoying. But if you can figure out a system or help us basically mobilize tens of thousands of people, that's what's going to change the world. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
I guess adding to that, it depends on what you are as, like what you're bringing as a person. Like there's all sorts of different roles for different people. So like come have a chat, and whatever it is you do, whatever it is you're interested in, there is a role out there for you, and we'll get you in there and we'll start making amazing things happen.
Okay, for those who can't go to London or anything, like, what can we do in our own hometown if, like, we haven't got groups? Because we want to make a change, and all these little hometowns just don't. And yeah.
I think if, for example, if there isn't an existing local group, we can help support you to create a local group, for one thing, so we can get those groups started and get you going in the community. If not, then there's also a lot of roles that can be done virtually, but it would be amazing to get more local groups off the ground. And so if you want to get one started, if you know anyone, have a group of friends who are interested, then please get in contact, reach out to us, and we will support you in getting that group started.
Yeah, I mean, all you need is like 3 or 4 mates or people you know who are into animal rights locally or into climate, and just say, hey, look, we should start working together, we should start planning something together, we should start doing some stuff. And it's as simple as coming to our stall, getting loads of posters, and going around your hometown and sticking loads of them up, so you start seeing the movement, you start seeing the signs of how strong we are. So it can be literally as simple as get a group of mates, make a WhatsApp chat, talk to us, and we can try to link you up with more people, and I guess keep that growing. So that's one avenue. Or like Claudia said, there's loads of remote, like virtual roles you can do as well, whether it's, yeah, loads of stuff. But yeah, 2 ways. Definitely, if you want to start a local group in your area, come chat to us. Okay, any more questions? Probably take a couple more. Yeah?
Working in a school, oh my God, that's loud. Working in a school, and you're saying like changing school meals, we already do that. So we already do 1 vegan day a week, or I think it is vegan day a week now. But what else can you do in around sort of conversations with children and not sort of building a wall between parents how can you educate children, honestly? Right, not causing tension.
This is a hard question, and I'm definitely no expert, but I'd probably say talk to someone's waving their hands really viciously. Maybe she wants to speak. Probably a better place than I am.
Hi, go to the family camp, and the lady that's running that is called Primary Vegetation, and she does an amazing book about how to bring veganism into schools for teachers. So it's a teacher's resource. She's amazing. She's called Laura. So go over to the family camp and have a chat with her if you can find her. If not, just Google her or Instagram Primary Vegetation, and then you'll find the book. So it's really great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
It's not really a question. I think it was more like to talk. I didn't understand the question that the gentleman asked before, but I didn't think it was quite towards getting in the movement and activism. I think it was like, what can I do actually when I get Sunday at home? So I thought maybe switching energy supply to Ecotricity, which is the only vegan one. I don't work for them, I'm just saying it. I guess meditation, which, just the reason why we got climate change is because we're just rushing and thinking and making new things and just stopping and just that, yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions? I think it looks chill. Cool. Okay, well, we'll round it up. So we're doing a panel tomorrow at some time. I'm not sure when, but it'll be good, I'm pretty sure. What else? Yeah, so if you want to stay around and chat to us, if you want to get more involved, come talk to me and Claudia. There's loads of people over here. You can also come talk to, we'll have a sign-up sheet right here. and come to our stall, look at our beautiful bamboo thing, come to the Rebellion. There's so many ways to get involved. Go home on Sunday, go on the website, fill out the volunteer form, all the fun things, book time off work. Yeah, there's like millions of things you can do. Yeah, let's make a better world for animals. Woo!